Have you ever noticed how a playground changes after dark? The laughter dies, the air thickens, and every shadow seems to watch you. I used to think our town's park was the safest place in the world until the night I saw something waiting for me on the jungle gym. Something that still visits my dreams and maybe never really left. If you're ready to feel that cold, crawling dread, the kind that makes you check the corners of your room, hit like, subscribe, and turn off the lights. This story isn't just about what I saw. It's about what might be waiting for you when the sun goes down. I grew up in a small Indiana town, the kind where everyone knows your name and the local park is the heart of everything. Birthday parties under the old oak trees, summer picnics on the faded benches, endless games of tag that always ended with scraped knees and breathless laughter. The park was our world, a place that felt safe, even sacred. It was late September, the kind of evening where the air tastes like cold leaves and the sky bleeds purple and gold. My friends and I were playing basketball on the cracked old court, the chain net rattling with every shot. The sun dipped lower, and one by one, the other kids drifted home, their voices fading into the hush of dusk. By the time we finished, the street lights were flickering on, casting long, uncertain shadows across the empty playground. The swings creaked in the wind, moving just enough to make you wonder if someone invisible was sitting there. Tyler, my best friend since kindergarten, sat beside me on the swings, our sneakers dragging lazy lines in the sand. We talked about school, about girls, about what we'd wear for Halloween. The world felt small and safe, wrapped in the familiar sounds of our own voices. Then, from the far end of the park, we heard a soft, metallic clanging. Like someone tapping the monkey bars, slow and deliberate. Tyler and I froze, glancing at each other. The park was supposed to close at dusk. Anyone still here was either up to no good or didn't care about the rules. We told ourselves it was probably nothing, maybe a stray cat or the wind. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when you're 14 and desperate to prove you're not afraid of the dark. We stood, brushing sand from our jeans, and started toward the playground. As we walked, the noise stopped. The swings hung motionless. The slide gleamed empty in the dying light. The sandbox was untouched, its surface smooth as skin. Then we saw a figure perched at the very top of the jungle gym, silhouetted against the last streaks of sunset. At first, I thought it was just another kid, maybe someone from school. But as we got closer, something felt wrong. The figure was too still, too silent. It didn't fidget or shift its weight. It just sat there, perfectly balanced, watching us. Tyler called out, his voice cracking. "Hey, you okay up there?" No answer, not even a twitch. The figure shifted, just a little, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of its face, or what should have been a face. Wide, dark eyes, too wide, too empty. No glint of light, no reflection. Just endless, hollow black. A cold, animal fear crawled up my spine. I wanted to run, but my legs felt rooted to the ground. Tyler grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in hard. "We should go," he whispered. We turned, trying not to look back. That's when we heard it, the soft, sliding sound of something descending the jungle gym. Not climbing, not jumping. Sliding like skin against metal. It landed on the ground with a soft, unnatural thud. Then it started walking toward us, not running, not calling out, just walking, slow, deliberate, like it knew we couldn't outrun it, no matter how fast we tried. We ran. I don't remember making the decision. One moment I was frozen. The next I was sprinting, Tyler's breath ragged beside me. The park seemed to stretch on forever, every shadow reaching for our ankles, every tree a twisted silhouette. I didn't dare look back. I didn't want to see how close it was. I could feel it, though its gaze, heavy and cold, pressing between my shoulder blades. We didn't stop until we reached the edge of the park, where the streetlights felt like a shield. Only then did we turn around. The playground was empty. The figure was gone. We stumbled home, breathless and shaking. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe someone was playing a prank. But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd seen its eyes, those empty, endless eyes. I'd felt its attention, cold and hungry. We told our parents. They laughed it off, said it was probably just another kid messing around. But the next morning, the news spread through school like wildfire. A boy had gone missing the night before. His bike was found near the playground, its wheels still spinning when they found it. But there was no sign of him, no footprints, no clues. Just gone. For weeks, the park was a ghost town after dark. No one wanted to be the next one to disappear. The police searched the woods, the pond, every inch of the park. But they never found the missing boy. They never found anything. Tyler stopped talking about that night. He wouldn't even look at the park when we walked past. I tried to forget, to convince myself it was just a nightmare. But sometimes, late at night, I'd wake up sweating, heart pounding, certain that something was watching me from the shadows outside my window. I started to notice things. The way the swings would move on windless nights. The way the streetlights near the park would flicker, just for a moment, as if something was passing beneath them. Sometimes, I'd hear that same metallic clanging, echoing through the empty streets, long after midnight. I stopped going to the park. I stopped sleeping with the lights off. But the dreams kept coming, always the same. The jungle gym, the figure perched at the top, its eyes wide and empty, waiting for me to come closer. In my dreams, I never run. I climb the jungle gym, drawn by something I can't resist. The metal is cold and slick beneath my hands. The figure waits for me, its face a void, its eyes swallowing all the light. It leans in, and I feel its breath cold, damp, smelling of earth and rust. It whispers my name, not with a voice, but with a feeling of pressure in my skull, a promise that I'll never leave, that I'll join the others, lost in the shadows, waiting for the next child to wander too close after dark. I wake up screaming, the taste of rust in my mouth, the echo of that metallic clanging ringing in my ears. And sometimes, just before I fall back asleep, I hear it outside my window, waiting. I still wonder what would have happened if we hadn't run. If we climbed the jungle gym, looked into those eyes, let it touch us. Maybe the missing boy didn't run fast enough. Maybe he's still there, somewhere in the dark, waiting for someone to notice. Because the scariest things aren't the ones you see in the daylight. They're the ones that wait for you just out of sight when the sun goes down. If you're checking the shadows in your room right now, let me know what alike. What's the most terrified you've ever been? Share your true horror stories in the comments below, and subscribe. If you dare to hear what waits in the dark next time, remember, never stay in the park after sunset. Some things are always watching. If you've ever wandered off the main path in a city park, you know how quickly the world can change. The laughter disappears, the air thickens, and sometimes, if you're unlucky, you realize you're not alone. I learned that the hard way, the day I met the man in the woods, and I still wonder if he's out there, waiting for someone else to stray too far. If you're ready to feel that cold, prickling fear, the kind that makes you glance over your shoulder, hit like, subscribe, and turn down the lights. This story isn't just about what I saw. It's about what might be watching you, right now, from the shadows. I grew up in a Cleveland suburb, the kind of place where the city feels far away and the local park is a world of its own. Acres of tangled woods, winding trails, and a creek that cut through the middle like a secret. My friends and I spent every summer there riding bikes, fishing, exploring, inventing stories about the places adults never seem to go. We knew every shortcut, every hidden spot, every tree with a rope swing. The park was our kingdom, and we ruled it with scraped knees and sunburned faces. But there was one place we never claimed, the old nature trail. It wound deep into the woods, where the trees grew so close together they blocked out the sun. The air was always colder there, heavy and still, as if the world was holding its breath. There were stories. Of course, every park has them. Some kids said the trail was haunted, that a man had vanished there years ago and was never found. Others whispered about a hermit, a wild-eyed man who watched from the shadows, waiting for someone to wander too far. We laughed about it, but none of us ever went down that path alone. One July afternoon, the air thick with heat and the promise of a storm, my friend Josh dared me to walk the nature trail by myself. I didn't want to look scared. I was 15, desperate to prove I was braver than the stories. I forced a grin, grabbed my backpack, and set off down the path, promising to meet the guys at the creek in half an hour. At first, it was just another trail muddy overgrown, the air buzzing with the smell of earth and green things. But as I walked, the sounds of the park faded behind me. The laughter, the distant traffic, even the birds all gone. The only noise was the crunch of my sneakers and the slow, steady thump of my heart. The trees pressed in on all sides, their branches clawing at the sky. The path twisted and turned, doubling back on itself in ways I didn't remember. The air felt colder, thick, and damp, as if I'd stepped underwater. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, that the stories were just stories. But then I heard of the branch snapping behind me. I spun around, heart hammering, but the trail was empty. Just trees, shadows, and the uneasy feeling that I was being watched. I kept walking faster now, glancing over my shoulder every few steps. The path seemed to stretch on forever, the woods growing darker with every turn. That's when I saw him. A man, standing just off the path, half hidden by the trees. He was tall and thin, with a scraggly beard and wild, hungry eyes. His clothes were filthy, hanging off him in tatters. In one hand, he held something long and heavy, a stick, or maybe a piece of rusted pipe. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just watched me, his eyes locked on mine, unblinking. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The man took a step toward me, then another, his movement slow and deliberate, as if he had all the time in the world. I turned and ran, crashing through the underbrush, branches whipping my face, thorns tearing at my arms. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps heavy, relentless, never speeding up, never slowing down. The woods seemed to close in, the path twisting away from me, the air thick with panic and the taste of blood in my mouth. I didn't dare look back. I didn't want to see how close he was. I burst out of the trees near the creek, gasping for breath, my shirt torn and my hands shaking. My friends saw me and ran over, their voices distant and muffled, as if I was underwater. I tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. When we looked back, the man was gone. The woods were silent, the path empty. We told the park ranger. He searched the trail, but found nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, no sign that anyone had been there at all. For weeks after, I had nightmares. I'd wake up sweating, heart racing, certain that the man was standing outside my window, watching. Sometimes, I'd see flashes of him in the trees when I walked home at dusk, a flicker of movement, a glint of wild eyes, gone before I could be sure. I started to avoid the park. I stopped taking shortcuts. I never went near the nature trail, not even with friends. But the feeling never left me, the sense that I'd seen something I wasn't supposed to see, that I'd come too close to something that didn't want to be found. A few months later, a hiker found a campsite deep in the woods, an old tent, a pile of filthy clothes, and a notebook filled with rambling, paranoid scribbles. The ranger said it looked like someone had been living there for years, hiding just out of sight. No one ever saw the man again. But sometimes, when the wind is right, you can still smell smoke drifting from the trees. Sometimes you catch a glimpse of movement just at the edge of your vision. And sometimes, late at night, I still dream about those wild eyes, watching me from the darkness, waiting for me to stray off the path. In my dreams, I'm back on the nature trail. The woods are silent, the path twisting away from me, always just out of reach. I hear footsteps behind me, slow, steady, never stopping. I try to run, but the trees close in, their branches grabbing at my clothes, pulling me back. I turn, and he's there, the man in the woods, his eyes burning with something I can't name. He raises his hand, the stick glinting in the half-light, and I realize I can't move. I can't scream. I can only watch as he steps closer, and closer and closer. I wake up gasping, the taste of earth and fear thick in my mouth. And for a moment, I'm sure I can still hear him moving through the trees outside my window. Now, whenever I walk in the park, I stay on the main path. I never go down the nature trail alone. And I always keep an eye on the trees, just in case the man in the woods is still out there, waiting for someone else to wander too far. Because sometimes, the scariest things aren't the ones you imagine. They're the ones you almost meet. If you're checking your windows right now, let me know what it's like. What's the closest you've ever come to real fear? Share your stories in the comments below and subscribe if you want to hear what's waiting in the dark next time. If you've ever sat by a lake at night, you know how peaceful it can seem, but water holds secrets. Sometimes, when the moonlight glimmers on the surface, something stirs beneath. I thought Lakeview Park was my safe place until the night something came out of the water and started following us home. If you're ready to feel that cold, creeping dread, the kind that makes you check your windows, hit like, subscribe, and turn off the lights. This story isn't just about what we saw. It's about what might be waiting for you just beneath the surface. Lakeview Park was our sanctuary. A big city park with a playground, picnic tables, and a lake that stretched out like a black mirror at night. In the summer, the air was thick with the sound of crickets and the smell of cut grass. My friends and I would sneak out after curfew, meet by the water, and tell ghost stories until the park ranger's flashlight swept across the dock. It was our favorite place in the world. The kind of place that felt safe, even magical, under the stars. That night in late July, the air was heavy, almost suffocating. There were 4 of us, me, my best friend Eric, his girlfriend Jess, and Marcus, the new kid who just moved to town. We brought snacks, a Bluetooth speaker, and a couple of flashlights. We set up on the dock, our feet dangling over the water, the city lights twinkling in the distance. We laughed, told stories, and dared each other to do stupid things. It was the kind of night you remember forever, until it turns into something you wish you could forget. Around midnight, Eric grinned and dared us to swim out to the floating platform in the middle of the lake. It was a rite of passage. Everyone in our group had to do it at least once. Jess and Marcus hesitated, but I wasn't about to back down. Eric and I stripped down to our shorts and dove in, the water shockingly cold, stealing the breath from our lungs. We swam out, laughing and splashing, the dock growing smaller behind us. The platform loomed ahead, slick with dew and moonlight. We climbed up, shivering, and looked back at the shore. Jess and Marcus waved their flashlights, the beams dancing across the water. That's when we saw it. A figure stood at the edge of the lake, just beyond the reach of the flashlights. At first, I thought it was the park ranger, come to chase us off. But the figure didn't move like a ranger. It didn't move at all. It just stood there, watching. Eric called out, "Hey, the park's closed." His voice echoed across the water, but the figure didn't respond. It just stepped into the lake, slow and silent, the water rising to its knees, then its waist, then its chest. I felt a chill crawl up my spine, colder than the water. The figure kept coming, slow and steady, never breaking eye contact. "Let's go," I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. We dove back into the water, panic making our limbs heavy. The lake felt endless, the platform suddenly impossibly far from the dock. I could feel the water closing in, thick and cold, as if something was reaching for my ankles. When we finally scrambled onto the dock, gasping and dripping, Jess and Marcus were pale, their eyes wide and terrified. "Did you see that?" Jess whispered, her voice trembling. We looked back. The figure was gone. The water was still, the shore empty. We grabbed our stuff and ran for the parking lot, our footsteps echoing on the wooden planks. As we reached the edge of the park, a loud splash echoed behind us like something heavy hitting the water. We didn't stop running until we reached the car, hearts pounding, breath ragged. No one spoke on the drive home. The silence was heavier than the night. The next day, we went back to the lake in the daylight. The water was calm, The dock empty. There were no footprints on the shore, no sign that anyone had been there. The park ranger said he hadn't seen anyone that night. No one else had reported anything strange, but the feeling lingered, like something was watching us just out of sight. A week later, Marcus stopped coming to the park. He wouldn't answer our calls, wouldn't come to the door. His mom said he was having nightmares, waking up screaming about someone watching him from the lake. A few days after that, Eric found a note taped to his front door. The handwriting was shaky, almost frantic. "Don't go back to the lake. It's waiting for you." We tried to laugh it off, but none of us went back to the park after dark. The lake lost its magic, replaced by a sense of dread that clung to us like a second skin. Sometimes, late at night, I dream about that figure in the water, the way it moved, the way it never made a sound. I wake up sweating, convinced I can hear footsteps sloshing through the lake outside my window. We stopped talking about it, but the fear never really left. Jess started sleeping with the lights on. Eric moved his bed away from the window. Marcus eventually moved away, his mom saying he needed a fresh start, but I knew the truth. He was running from something that wouldn't let him go. In my dreams, I'm back on the dock. The lake is black and endless, the moonlight barely touching the surface. I hear footsteps in the water slow, deliberate, coming closer. I try to move, but my body is heavy, frozen with fear. The figure rises from the water, its face hidden in shadow, its eyes locked on mine. It reaches for me, its hand dripping with lake water, and I feel a coldness seep into my bones, a cold that never really leaves, even when I wake up. Sometimes I wake to find my sheets damp, as if I've been swimming in my sleep. Sometimes I hear the splash of footsteps outside my window, even though I live miles from the lake. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see the figure waiting for me, patient and silent, just beneath the surface. Now, whenever I pass Lakeview Park, I keep my eyes on the water. I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't run. I wonder if it's still waiting for someone else to swim out too far or stay too late. Because sometimes the scariest things aren't the ones you see in the daylight. They really the ones that follow you home. If you're checking your windows right now, let me know what they're like. What's the most unsettling thing you've ever seen near the water? Share your stories in the comments below. And subscribe if you want to hear what's waiting in the dark next time.